Hey everyone. The purpose of this video is to showcase the latest release of the Okapi web app. This release has been focused on enhancing existing features, building some new dashboard widgets, and adding some new features. To get started, we'll go through the event creation process, create a couple activities, and then we'll go through the new dashboard widgets and some new features that correspond to the creation of an activity and how it affects field reps and other users. We'll jump in here to our events, and now we'll go ahead and add a new event. This event is a sampling event that occurs at a fair and festival. We will call it the Forest Park Golf Tournament. It is occurring in 2019. It's through the field marketing program. It's in the central region. It's in St. Louis. And here we are at our first feature, the Places Quick Add. This feature allows for me to add a new place on the fly as I'm creating the event. This particular event occurs at the Highlands, which we can see does not exist. I'm going to go ahead and click Add a New Place, run my search again, and perfect, there we go. It syncs up to the Google Place and I can add that to my event. Upon doing so, it will fill in my place, and it will also add that as a place to my site for future use. If somebody were to come back and have an event at the Highlands Golf and Tennis in St. Louis, they would be able to select that. We'll go ahead and we'll update this to the name of our desired activity. We'll give it an activity type of sampling. It will start on the 15th. This will be a full day from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. And here we are at another new feature, user recruitment. During the creation of an activity, I can now choose to staff an activity by assignment or recruitment. Selecting assignment allows for me to assign this activity to one or multiple users within my site. If I were to change this to recruitment, I'm allowed to define a maximum number of users to recruit to work this activity. I'm going to go ahead and select recruitment, and I need 2 users to work this activity. I will create, and we are on our way. Alright, we have landed at the event overview page. We can see my event's been created with my place that I added via the Places Quick Add. I can look into my activities. I'll see my single activity I created. If I looked at that, we are now at the activity overview page. We did select recruitment as our activity staffing type. And what you can see now is the assigned users panel on the activity overview comes with a few options. During my initial setup, I requested 2 recruited users, so I can see that 0 of those slots have been filled. I, as Sam the site admin, also have the ability to apply for this activity if I'm working double duty. I can also send an email to notify the team, which would send a notification to anyone who has been assigned to this activity, or I can choose to recruit my team, which will send out a notification to everyone on the site that there is a new activity available to apply for. I am going to leave both those alone, and I'm going to switch my screen over to a field rep. So here I am logged in as Frankie the field rep. He is a member of the Healthy Donuts training site. I'm going to click on activities, and I can see that there is the activity we just created. So I'm into the Forest Park Sampling Day 1 activity, and as a field rep, I can choose to apply for the activity, which then assigns me to that activity, and you can see that the number of assigned users has incremented by 1. I can also choose to withdraw if for some reason my plans change, so Frankie has all the power to do what he needs to do. I'm going to go ahead and add Frankie back, and I'm going to switch back to the site admin view. I'm back as Sam now. If I were to refresh my page, we will see that this activity overview updates and shows that Frankie has now been assigned and accepted the invitation. And now we'll flip back over to Frankie one more time, and we are back in as a field rep. Another new feature that comes into play is the user schedule. So now as Frankie, I have the ability to click on my name and view my schedule. What that will do is show me a list view of all the activities that I have been assigned to or accepted via recruitment. And I can also view a calendar view of all of those activities as well that separates it by date range. You can see that the Forest Park Sampling Day 1 activity exists on the 15th. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and click into that as Frankie. It brings me back to the activity overview page. For this particular activity, let's go ahead and work this recap as Frankie. So the activity attendance, there were 1,000 people who attended. Summary, great. Busiest time of the day, we'll say mid-afternoon. What was the weather like? It was great. It was warm. We're going to say that I did some samples. Let's say I did 100 glazed donuts. I did 50 Long Johns, and I did 5 blueberries because blueberry donuts don't go over well. All of my total samples distributed, adding those up gives me 155. I'll go ahead and save that recap. Cool. So Frankie has submitted that. I'm going to go ahead and submit for approval as Frankie. And Frankie has done his part. I will swap back over to the site admin view. We'll refresh the activity overview page once more. And we will now see that the status is updated to submitted. And if I were to click on the recap tab, all of Frankie's information is now available. I'm going to go ahead and approve this. And this activity is now done. Now with some data, we will jump into the dashboard and check out some new widgets. I'll start by expanding this date range out to get the full month of February. We'll go ahead and apply that. The first widget we'll discuss is called Quick Stats. And what that does is give you the ability to display numeric statistics for either a recap question or a survey question. I'm going to go ahead and click Recaps for this particular item and close. So now you can see I can add a stat. I will click that. All of the recap questions that are numeric values are given as an option for me to select. I'm going to go ahead and show the average and the sum of the activity attendance. Click Apply, and you'll see now that activity attendance has an average of 1,250 and an overall sum of 2,500. These can be removed individually by clicking the X, and we are left with just the activity attendance average. A second new widget we have added is called Activities by User by Activity Type. Go ahead and add that. And what this chart brings back to us is the activities by user by activity type based on the assigned users associated with any activity. So in this case, Frankie, Frida, and Paula have all been assigned to an activity at some point within the month of February. When we map those out by activity type, we can see that Frankie has 1 sampling activity type as well as 2 event booth activity types. For the final 2 new widgets, I am going to clear out everything on our dashboard, and we will add our samples distributed by event widget. And what that does is display event performance by samples distributed using the standard question of total samples distributed. Standard questions serve as a means of getting all data to speak the same language. When you want to see samples distributed by event, we know that total samples distributed is the source of truth. Taking that a step further, I'm going to add another new widget based on total samples distributed, in which we break that down by user. Now we can see that those 155 samples distributed by event at the Forest Park Golf Tournament were all distributed by Frankie. If you also recall when we were working as Frankie, that breaks down into 100 glazed donuts, 50 Long Johns, and 5 blueberry donuts that nobody really cares for. To showcase where total samples distributed really shines, I'm going to swap over to another user in this site, Paula the Program Manager. I've already jumped into an activity and I'm ready to fill out the recap for this Forest Park Balloon Race activity. I'm going to go ahead and say the activity attendance for this was 10,000. Busiest time of day was 2 to 4. It was a cool day. And we'll go back into our samples distributed by product question, and we'll enter in how many samples she was able to hand out at the balloon race. In her case, glazed donuts were not very popular. Long Johns were very popular, and blueberries were even more popular. A little bit contradicting to what Frankie experienced, but nonetheless, we'll throw this all into our total samples distributed, and we will save. I'm going to go ahead and submit this for approval, and Paula has done her part. I'll swap back over to Sam's dashboard. We'll go into our activities. We will pull up the activity that Paula just submitted. I'll go ahead and prove that. Cool. So we'll go back to our dashboard. We'll go ahead and reset our date range to the full month of February, excuse me. We'll click apply, and we'll now see that we have two events, the one that Frankie worked and the one that Paula worked. Paula had a much better day, and we'll also see that Paula has given out much more samples versus Frankie. And that wraps up the dashboard and new widgets we have available for use. I will touch on another new feature in which we can allow for custom exports to occur for your specific site. These exist under the Business Intelligence menu and then in the Exports tab. And as you can see, this site has no custom exports available. But what this feature does is give us the ability to provide a custom export of any data that you may need that is not met by the existing data exports that exist within the Events, Activities, Recaps, or Surveys tabs. There is a fee associated with a custom export, so feel free to reach out to your Okapi contact to discuss options. Final new feature to discuss are web-based surveys. This takes an existing feature available in the Okapi mobile app and extends it to be viewable within a web browser. This feature is unique to our Okapi 360 and Enterprise subscribers, but we'll go through the process and showcase how we can extend these to the web. I'll go ahead and look at our survey templates, which is where this all stems from. If I go ahead and click Add New, I get several options on how I want to configure a survey template. I can define my questions by clicking the Survey Questions button. I receive all the questions I have defined within my site. I can configure my survey. All of these options will extend to the mobile app and be present within the web app as well. I can also define mobile-specific options. When I'm viewing this on a mobile device with the mobile app, I can define the kiosk pin mode, enable an ID scanner, or show a background image that will display behind the survey. And I have web options. I can choose to turn on web surveys. If I do so, I can allow one or multiple users submissions per user. I can include an introduction message if I wish. And after the submission, I can display a confirmation message or redirect the user to a URL that I define. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of all of these and go into an existing survey template to showcase what it looks like all set up. Within this sampling survey template, we have all of our questions defined. We have the configuration set up with a custom logo and some custom colors. The mobile app itself has nothing defined. And I have web surveys enabled that allows multiple submissions per user. And once they've submitted, I want to show them this message. I'm going to cancel out of this, and we're actually going to go see what that survey looks like. To get to the survey URL, you must visit an activity that has that survey template attached. We know that the activity we have been working in has the sampling survey template attached. And what that does is enable this web survey URL to show up within our activity overview page. By clicking on this link, it will pop the survey and I can complete the survey. This link we see on the activity overview page can be shared across the board. You can share it with anybody who has access to a web browser. They can pull it up, complete the survey, and if you allow for multiple submissions, they can submit it multiple times. If you allow for one, they can only submit it one time. So what I'll do is go ahead and submit this guy here. We'll just fill in some dummy values. And when I click submit, I get my confirmation message and we're on our way. If I go back into the web app now and look at my survey results, and look at sampling, you can see those results show up immediately within the app itself. And like I said before, that survey URL can be shared with anyone. They do not need to be a member of Okapi or be a member of your site. I just share the URL and they can complete the survey. That wraps up all of the features of the latest release of the Okapi web app. Thanks for sitting through the discussion, and I look forward to next month's release.